Good morning. How are you today on this lovely sunny day here in Wales? Welcome. Please subscribe, hit that like button if you'd like to hear more of the content I have to offer. Thanks. So today I thought we'd talk about creative medicine and why I feel it's important. And I call it creative medicine because it's the act of making sacred tools. And how it can help us really connect with spirit and on a very deep level, and actually put really our medicine, our personal medicine into the making of the tools. So I'm just going to sort of glance at my notes that I was making about this so I don't forget to tell you anything. So from a shamanic perspective, creative medicine refers to the sacred act of creation through which spiritual tools are birthed with intention, prayer, and a deep connection to spirit. We also connect deeply with earth and any ancestral wisdom that might want to come through. And it's not just an art, it really is medicine in its truest sense. It brings healing, balance, and spiritual power. It's a sacred dialogue between the human soul, nature, spirit allies, the unseen world, and it is a living being with a spirit of its own. So whilst we're creating something from, say, animal hide or a tree, we're using wood from a specific tree, the spirit of those allies will be incorporated into the tool. So they really hold, the power. Like, for instance, my drum. There is deer hide and ash, and it holds the spirit of the deer, the quietness, the silent, alert qualities that deer might have, brave, courage, that kind of thing, and the healing properties of ash. So those spirits, if you like, are embodied in the making of that particular drum. And if you change the hide, the animal that the hide might come from, then it will incorporate. So for instance, my dragon drum is actually made from goat skin, which is helping me reach the highest mountains. So when we're making sacred tools, we would set up our space, set up our medicine wheel, open with prayers, set our intention for what we would like the tool to achieve or to hold, what qualities would we like to hold. And sometimes, certainly in the making of a drum, we would connect with the spirit of the animal and the tree to really feel into that power. So, every stitch that is put into it, every feather, every knot carries prayer and, medicine power. So, having set our intention, we would then, as we're weaving, as we're sewing, as we're crafting our tool, it is we are creating our medicine with each stitch, each step. It enforces our relationship to nature. So if we're gathering our materials from nature, for example, stones or feathers, we would probably always, but give thanks to the creature or the plant that it came from. So if you find a feather, just acknowledge the bird that it comes from by saying thank you and offering prayers or a song. Or if you're collecting plant materials or tree branches or whatever, you could leave an offering, of tobacco or which is the sort of North American tradition. But in here in the UK, our Celtic traditions, I would probably offer something along the lines of local honey, a spoonful of local honey, or some mugwort, or that kind of thing. So whilst you're making, it's a spirit-guided creation, so it's not just us as a human crafting something, we're actually connecting deeply with spirit, so we can be guided through visions or dreams. So if an idea came to you while you were dreaming, that's a direct connection from spirit to make that particular tool or what have you. Synchronicities can lead us to create something that might bring us power or healing. For example, my initial connection with drum a long time ago, I kept feeling I needed a drum. I didn't know why, I didn't know anything about shamanic healing. I certainly didn't know anything about frame drums. And then books came into my view. The book, just trying to think what it's called now, it's gone completely out of my head. When the Drummers Were Women by Leanne Redmond. That came into my path, and I read it and I thought, oh, this is so ancient, this frame drumming, and especially for women, the history of women being the priestesses, that they were the ones that ran the temples and the healing ceremonies in ancient times. Anyway, that got me into learning about drums, and I just felt I needed one. And then through various synchronicities, I met people that guided me on this path. And so, that's where one is guided to making sacred tools, really, is through interesting connections, either with other people or just feelings that you have, or through dreams and have you. And then once we've made our drum or our rattle or our medicine doll, we would then activate them, which is through blessings. We would smudge them, and as we're going along, actually, we always smudge and clear the tools that we're using so that they're free from any energies that are not wanted. And to awaken them, we would bless and pray and sing. My drums are blessed in the elements, so in the waters, in my local stream, if I'm making them here, to hang them up in the wind, to pass them through fire, and to rub earth into them is a way of connecting them to the four directions. So I would do that with most of the things that I am making. And if I don't do it in that way, then I would certainly make special prayers or sing to activate, to create an awakening within that tool. So examples of medicine tools, as I say, drum represents the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and the creating of the drum is a rite of passage, really, and it's usually the first thing that people are called to make. It's that needing to connect with Grandmother Earth, to ground ourselves, to heal something deep within us, and that will then lead on to everything else. Once you start, there's no stopping. The rattle is often the next one that you might want to make, and rattle's a very powerful medicine tool and not really given enough credence, I think. It clears energy, it can call in spirit. It's often filled with symbolic items like tiny stones which represent ancestors, or you can put crystals in them, or have you. And again, like the drum, it represents all four directions. So that's a super powerful tool. The medicine shield, which I don't know whether you can see up here, is similar to making a drum. blowing in the wind there. Except we would use it for bringing in power. It's a representation of our personal power, our spirit allies, and protection. So when you're making a medicine shield, you would set that intention of what it is exactly you want the shield to help you with. Medicine dolls. This is one example. This is my wormwood medicine doll, because I wanted to work with wormwood, and setting an intention to do so by making a medicine doll was a really powerful way of doing it for me. Medicine dolls hold spirit that may represent, in this case, a plant spirit, or ancestors, or guides, or archetypes, and they're generally used for healing, or to help with answering particular questions or what have you. Feather fans. This is one I made a long time ago. It's made from, I found sadly a shot plover. Yes, plover in Gozo, and I found it on the side of the road, and it so upset me that anyway I took its tail feathers and its wing feathers, and I took it home and made a smudge fan. So these would be used for energy work, or you could just have, making a very simple, this is one of my medicine feathers, so even just cleansing it and tying some suede on the bottom, that would be used as it's one of my medicine feathers for clearing energy, and they carry the breath of spirit, so they're very much the element of air. And even something as simple as, just tying on a piece of suede on the bottom, it should be done in ritual, really, with intention. Spirit sticks and talking sticks, which I have here. So these are holders of story. So you may want to make something that is holding a particular family story. I don't know whether you can see very clearly, but I found this piece of wood that I think looks like a face. So I made this with respect to ancestors and the stories that the ancestors may be passing on to me. Talking sticks are usually passed around when you're working in circles, so that whoever's holding the talking stick can speak unhindered, uninterrupted, without judgment. And it's a nice way to ensure that people don't butt in or offer their opinion in a circle. So these are spirit sticks or talking sticks. Prayer ties. I've got some in the tree outside, but I haven't got any to show you. But they're little bundles of coloured fabric, which you might put sacred herbs like tobacco or dried mugwort in, and to hang them in the tree. And so you would make them with intention that you're sowing your prayers very intentionally into these ties, and then to hang them up in trees, or so the wind carries your prayers to Great Spirit. Or they can be used as offerings, so you could make little prayer ties and take them and offer them to a particular tree that you're working with, or a stream or whatever. Smudge bundles, I'm sure you all know, I haven't got one to hand. little bundles of herbs that I have actually. Just one moment. These are some sage bundles that I very quickly made. They're almost dry, not quite. You need to leave them. So you would make some smudge bundles from herbs that you might have in your garden: sage, lavender, mugwort, wormwood, whatever you have to hand, rosemary, cedar. So they're used to cleanse a space and call in specific energies, is what we would use those for. And then altars, which I don't know whether you can see behind me, but I have a small altar there just by my drum, which is my medicine wheel. But you can add to it, so you would have an altar cloth, things that represent each of the directions, and I feed that on a daily basis. So I'm constant, every day I open the medicine wheel and it's feeding that. I would always cleanse it. I give prayers, and they create sacred spaces and power. And the power of prayer and connection is huge, so if you're able to have an altar in a specific place in your house, or like I do in my healing shed outside in the garden, that you're on a daily basis, you're feeding that, and that is creation in itself, because you might have a specific ancestor altar, in which case you'd put photographs on it or things that represent your ancestors, or you could have altars for the different seasons, or the different festivals throughout the year. You would put like Imbolc, you would put a candle and some white things to represent the start of the spring, the deepest, darkest time of the winter, and the promise of the spring and the light coming. Or in the winter, around the harvest time, Samhain, you would have an altar that had perhaps fruit on it, harvest, representing the harvest, or orange leaves, as the leaves are falling, that kind of thing. So, there's a huge amount of creation available to having different altars for different things. But again, they all represent creating that sacred space, and it's a very creative medicine in itself, thinking about what you might want to make your altar out of, and what prayers can you offer it, and what offerings can you make. So it's also the altars are also somewhere where you would perhaps keep your sacred tools, so for example, I have my drum on there, I have my rattles, I have some crystals that give it power. I have a dragon crystal, and that you can because it's creating almost like an acupuncture point, a bit like an apicetta in South American traditions, except they build them out of stones and they have a point on them. So this is drawing down the energy from spirit. Just a circular altar on the floor or a table or whatever is creating an acupuncture point, drawing in the energy from the galaxy, the energy from Grandfather Sky into Grandmother Earth, and it's creating that kind of vortex. So that they're you can make them how you like, really, but and to be creative. So ultimately, creative medicine is a way of embodying the sacred in the physical form. it teaches us that spirit is in all things, and it makes us very connected to spirit, I think. Healing can be birthed through our hands. Beauty and meaning are powerful medicines. When we create with soul and awareness, we bring ourselves to our communities into a deeper alignment with the sacred. So it's not just for us, it's for our communities too. So you can be birthing sacred tools to help with your local community or the global community, really. And it's not, creating in this way is not just a performance, it's a prayer made visible. So through your intentions, through your making, you're making a prayer to spirit, and your creation will hold that prayer. And it's so every person becomes a conduit between the worlds, and the tools become bridges for others to access spirit, healing and remembrance. So, you know, the tools that we make are this conduit that connect us to greater things, to the unseen worlds. And it's through this creativity, through our imagination, through our experimenting, if you like. There's no right or wrong way to make these tools, really. I mean, you know, making a drum, you probably need a little bit of guidance to make the form, but really it's your intentions and what you want from it, and how you decorate it and how you paint it is your creation and is your creative medicine. So I hope that that kind of explains what I mean by creative medicine. I do offer one-to-one creative medicine sessions where we can make together excuse me, drums, rattles, spirit sticks, whatever your intention is. And I can do this online, you know. Now we have this amazing thing called the internet. We don't have to be face to face, although that's lovely too if you're local to me. It can be done via Zoom. And even making a drum, I mean, I made my first drum with guidance online, you know, from my teacher, who wasn't in the same country as me. I was in Malta at the time. Sorry, Rafi barking as usual. So it doesn't take away from it. The energy still passes, you know. As we know, energy flows whether we're looking at each other through a camera lens or through our, you know, in the same space. It doesn't matter. So if you would like a one-to-one creative medicine session with me, please get in touch or check out my website. Yeah. Hope you all have a lovely day. It's beautiful. Probably time to go because now the dogs are starting. Okay, have a good day. Ciao for now.